Hello everyone. In this episode of Cooking 100-Year-Old Recipes, I am making eggs a la Lee. First, I'm making the bread, which is absolutely optional, but I enjoy making my own bread. This is not a 100-year-old recipe. This is in fact a King Arthur flour rustic sourdough bread. I'll put the recipe down below. It uses both sourdough starter, as you see here, warm water, and as extra insurance, there is yeast. I use kosher salt, and that is a Emily Henry salt pig. People always ask me about that, and I will link it below. I've had it for several years, but it is still available. Next comes the flour. Mix it up. And in my family, ever since I was a little girl, my great aunt always taught me to use a pastry cloth when rolling pie dough or making bread, so that's how I do it to this day. It's a special weave of cotton towel, and nothing sticks to it. It's wonderful. This was one of hers, in fact, but I do have new ones because they are still made today. I will link them below as well. See how easy it is to knead and keep your hands relatively clean and they don't get quite as sticky. You can still feel the dough through the cotton cloth without it being too messy. And you don't get flour everywhere. It stays contained in the towel. After it's risen, I put it back on the towel and shape it. Today I'm doing two different shapes. One oblong and another that will be shaped into a round ball. And I use Benetton baskets, and I will link those down below as well, and I prefer to use parchment paper. It's easier to transfer and I handle it a lot less so it doesn't deflate the dough when I move it onto a baking pan. And I have pre-cut sheets for that, and I will link those below as well. They're very handy. And the baskets get covered with the little bonnets that come with the baskets. And I let them rise until they double. It takes about 90 minutes depending how warm it is, sometimes a little bit faster. Beautiful. Because they have a little break in the top from rising, I do not slash them before baking. That's just a personal preference. And they transfer right onto the baking sheet. You see, no extra contact that would deflate the dough whatsoever. And I spray them down generously with water to get a nice papery, crisp crust. into the oven. It only takes about 30 minutes for them to bake. Beautiful. I'm going to set them on to a wire rack to cool, and while they cool, I will make the eggs a la Lee. So that nice crusty bottom, but it's not too brown. Perfect. I love the bread recipe. It's tried and true. I've made it dozens of times. Listen to that crust. It's very tender inside with great sourdough flavor. So I'm slicing the bread that I will toast for the base of the egg. And I like to use my cast iron pans for everything. So I toast them on there. It doesn't take long at all. And I use silicone egg cups to poach eggs. In the cookbook, Fannie Farmer calls them dropped eggs because normally you would drop them into simmering water. But I find that gets a little bit messy, and I started using these years ago when I was a private chef. I was cooking for an athlete who loved eggs benedict, and trying to cook for the whole family and make him those eggs, it was a lot easier, and I continue to use them to this day. So the a la Lee part of the eggs is the mushroom duxelle style sauce. So chop up some button mushrooms, and they go into the pan with butter, of course my iron skillet again, and they cook for about 5 minutes in just that tablespoon of butter. Then a cup of chicken stock is added, and they cook a little bit longer. The recipe says 5 minutes, but I found that they still were not soft enough to process through a sieve like this. If you don't have a sieve or don't want to do this, use a hand blender, a stick blender rather, and just get it chopped down very finely. If you saw the chicken a la Stanley recipe, the onions went easily through the sieve, but the mushrooms are more of a challenge. But once they've been put through the sieve or pureed, they go back into the pan with a tablespoon of butter and flour to thicken. You can season with salt and pepper. I did not add extra salt because my ham is very salty. And then you plate it. Ham slices over the toast, and the poached eggs go on top. Then spoon over the mushroom sauce, and it's ready. I found this to be very satisfying and hearty. It would be good even for dinner, but it's a lovely brunch dish. The earthy, flavorful mushroom sauce goes beautifully with the ham and eggs, and that nice crunch of the toast and the silky egg yolk when it breaks open. It's just fantastic. I highly recommend trying this if you like mushrooms. Look, just beautiful. I will see you in the next video. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next one.